that movie should just be a B movie remake.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like this masterpiece with
the
all
90s
of these
were a hell
like
of a time, Joel. We were
I'm
living
telling
large.
you,
We
man.
had no idea how large we were living in the 90s.
We did not know how good we had it.
The Articulate Coven is the original, unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, and The Immortal Universe from AMC and AMC+.
Welcome to The Articulate Coven. We are your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are The Articulate Coven. It is another movie night, Ashley.
And we are giddy. We are giddy.
Listen, we've watched a lot of great movies already on this show, honestly. I was super excited the last time that we did Queen of the Damned because we'd already discussed it a little bit. We were going to break it down, and the awfulness had me excited, honestly. This is the movie that I've been most looking forward to watch of any of our movies that we've covered so far.
I don't know why it didn't even occur to me until someone suggested it that was something we should do. It's because this fucking movie, when you start watching it, it does not seem like it's going to be a vampire movie. It's like a crime heist kind of thing, you know? And then...
I mean, okay, you have to put yourself in the time frame again for this film. This is 1996.
Have we even said what we're watching?
We haven't, I don't think. From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn, the original opus from Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. Well, I say that because they made two sequels that are not very good because those two guys weren't really involved in them.
This is the opus.
But this movie came... Okay, so Desperado comes out in 1995 with Antonio Banderas. Huge success for an indie movie. Robert Rodriguez is everybody's favorite action director suddenly.
Yeah, it was bad ass. If you haven't watched that movie, go watch it. If you haven't watched that movie in the last 5 years, let's all go watch it.
I literally said to myself, I'm going to watch the whole trilogy. So Desperado is actually a sequel to a movie that Robert Rodriguez made called El Mariachi. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, where it's sort of a remake of the same story, just with a bigger budget. But it's also technically a sequel. And then there is a third one called Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which is not great, but is very, very interesting. Like, just super compelling to watch. Like, Robert Rodriguez knows how to make a visually compelling film.
Yeah, he really does. I always enjoy his movies. I mean, sometimes I'm confused and horrified, but I go right along on the ride.
So plot is not his strong suit, I would say. Absolutely. And that happens a little bit here at the end, too. But, so like, Pulp Fiction was out at this point. True Romance had come out. Reservoir Dogs, obviously. Like, Tarantino was the hottest writer in Hollywood. Absolutely. And Robert Rodriguez was one of the hottest directors in Hollywood. And the idea that they were going to they literally got to make not a big budget, but a decent budget with huge names in it.
19 million.
It's a B movie, Ashley. This movie should have been like on Sci-Fi Network or something, right?
100%.
Except for the fact that these two guys who literally could do anything. This is a blank check style movie, right? Like, they could have done anything in Hollywood they wanted to do, and they chose to do this. Yes.
And if that doesn't tell you something about these guys, particularly about Quentin Tarantino, I don't know that you'll ever learn.
Okay, we've said some fun things, and I'm so glad we did, because I felt terrible that the idea was that we were going to open the episode like this, but I do think it is important to talk about this before we get any further. The first thing you see, basically, is the Miramax logo.
I know.
I want to say officially, from the Articulate Coven, fuck Harvey Weinstein.
Hard.
Fuck him for all sorts of reasons, Ashley, but specifically just for this. Miramax made great films. And you have complicated my feelings on an entire section of what is some of my favorite films of all time, and the filmmakers that made them, honestly.
Can I make it worse?
Yes, please.
Can I make it worse for you? if there's an actress that you ever really enjoyed in a Miramax film, and then you wondered why you didn't see her in anything else for a really long time, Mira Sorvino, perhaps it's because they told him to go fuck himself. And he fucked their careers.
Worse than that, even, Ashley, are the dozens, maybe hundreds of actors and actresses that we don't know didn't have a brief career, didn't have any career because of Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't know how many people he held the gate on. And I mean, never mind the actual sexual assault that he committed on many of these people.
Repeatedly on,
just the career
fuck
fuckery.
That guy. Fuck that guy.
I will say this, one like good news spot in all of that. This was the reason, Harvey Weinstein was the reason why Dogma wasn't available. I was a big Kevin Smith fan, those first few movies especially.
Awesome.
Dogma's a fantastic movie.
So good.
But Harvey Weinstein bought it directly from Disney because Disney, like, they got cold feet right before it came out, and Harvey Weinstein put it out all himself. Disney didn't want to have anything to do with it because of the protests that were already happening. And so now, after all this came out, Kevin couldn't reissue it. They couldn't put it on DVD. He wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't write a sequel to it, et cetera, et cetera.
They couldn't do shit with it.
Nothing, because Harvey owned it, and Kevin was like, I'm not giving that motherfucker another penny based on that movie and anything to do with it if I can help it. And so someone got it from him. Someone bought it from him. Kevin put this news out recently. He's toying with the idea of writing a sequel now, and I don't know if that'll ever happen. But in 2025, there's going to be a full reissue of the movie.
So
It'll be available on digital and etc. So one more time, just in case you missed it, fuck Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, officially. I mean, genuinely, people like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino were huge parts of my like beginning of true film love, and the fact that I even have to question either one of them because of their association with him, like, and Quentin's creepy enough on his own. Okay,
right.
We don't need the malfeasance of another man to throw onto his potential.
Every time that George Clooney got really physical with him in this movie, and then I could see him doing things to keep him safe, I was like, bash his head into the fucking wall.
Right?
He choked someone until they were almost unconscious. Like, this guy, go fuck yourself. Like, I mean, fuck Quentin Tarantino.
What does it say about Quentin, though, that he would write that part for himself?
I mean,
he is literally a psychopath and a serial killer,
a rapist
and a rapist.
A murderer. Yeah. Fun guy. Good brother.
Okay.
I love seeing Harvey Keitel play this sweet, derpy kind of character. Really love that, because he's such a hard ass in so many things. You know, like my fucking vacuum robot, my Roomba's named the Wolf.
Okay, this is what I said. And honestly, Ashley, we sort of said this about last week's movie too, The Voyage of the Demeter. It was like, oh man, it's got a great cast. Like, look, and he's in this too, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This movie, okay, it's so. This is what I said. I said it's over provisioned. This movie is so over provisioned.
Yes.
So
you
first
could
of all,
live through several long winters here.
Quentin Tarantino, like, he is too good a writer for this kind of film, honestly.
Yes.
Robert Rodriguez is too good a director for this sort of movie.
They chose this.
Harvey Keitel as the preacher who's lost his faith. Juliette Lewis as his daughter when she's throwing like 100-mile-per-hour speedballs. I think this is right after Natural Born Killers. Yeah. Maybe before. I can't remember, honestly.
Like 23 in this.
I mean, she is literally throwing 100-mile-per-hour speed. This is the height of her powers, I would say.
She's gotten an Oscar nomination by this point for... Didn't she get an Oscar nomination for Cape Fear?
I think
Did she get nominated for that?
I think she did. If
she
didn't,
really
she
good
should
at that.
have. Man, unbelievable in that movie. Like, but see, that's another good example. I think they just did this sometimes in the 90s. Like, why would you have Scorsese and Juliette Lewis and freaking
Robert De Niro
in that? Yeah, Robert De Niro's in it, but the who plays the wife?
Oh, Jessica Lange, I think. Is it Jessica Lange?
Fucking yes.
Is that right?
Fucking Jessica Lange as the wife. And I'm like, and Nick Nolte when he's at the top of his game too. Like, that movie should just be
Nick
a
Nolte
B-movie remake.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like this masterpiece with
the
all
90s
of these.
were a hell of a time, Joel. We were living large. We had no idea how large we were living in the 90s.
Yeah, we did not know how good we had it. I'm telling you. Anyway, that twosome though, especially Harvey Keitel and Juliette Lewis, like he's losing his faith and she is struggling to hold on to any of her life as her dad races to leave it behind. God. And it's such a cool dynamic between the two of them, honestly. And that's all effectively played just in their eyes because it's not really in the dialogue. Like we get just glimpses of it.
Why would it be in the dialogue of this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you can tell like they're on this it's this broken family. The mother's died. They're on this cross country trip in this RV. They haven't slept in a real bed in a really long time. Like that's all Harvey Keitel wants is just sleep in a fucking bed. Poor dude.
Well,
she just wants to swim in a pool. Harvey Keitel just wants to sleep in a bed, and they end up in this fucking situation.
So I love that bed line though. Like, well, I want to sleep in a real bed. It's like the one moment where you get a glimpse that he regrets any of his choices currently. Yeah, right. Like he's still doing this, but he has realized that RV isn't going to be everything.
We can't live in this forever, y'all. We're gonna have to go back to real life eventually. Yeah, it is kind of a bummer. But like the beginning of this movie, that fucking opening scene is so insane. Like it is just the scene in the liquor store. This is what you think that's what this movie is going to be about. You think that this is going to be a movie about and it continues to be that, but then you get all these new elements introduced once you get to the titty bar, which I guess that happens to all of us. You get all these new elements introduced once you get to the titty bar,
It does introduce some new elements. That's true.
But you feel like it's going to be like it's because it's Rodriguez and Tarantino. You're like, okay, like we got these two guys. And this is also the height of George Clooney, by the by. This is George Clooney hot on ER, like just starting to really, really do more movies. And like he is leading man goals right now.
We all remember the Rachel haircut. But this fucking Caesar haircut.
Oh my God. And the two of them both trying to push it down constantly. I was like, the 90s were a hell of a time.
I cannot explain to you. I had it 2 or 3 separate times I had this haircut.
Every male I know during that time period that I knew during the 90s had that haircut.
I will say one of the reasons why it works so well is like it's incredibly low maintenance, but also it's incredibly versatile as far as like it looks pretty decent on almost any head shape, whereas like lots of hairstyles do not. Anyway,
I don't know. But like he made a whole thing happen. You could do this all the time.
Okay, let's talk about George Clooney though for a minute. Like he is so again. This was like right before his blank check era, almost.
Yeah.
Like
it is. He's
right
not
after
quite there
this,
yet.
He starts making Ocean's 11 movies.
And here's the thing: he's playing that character in this movie. That's the same fucking character. Like this movie, the same one. His audition for Ocean's 11 was this film because he does not come across as a low rent criminal. Ever in this,
No. What's the movie that he made with Jennifer Lopez? That's like part of it set in Louisiana. It's like out of luck, out of time, out of something. Anyway, that movie, he's basically playing the same character too. Like George Clooney's got a few gears.
Yeah.
He's in one of them that he's real good at in this movie.
I was just like, well, this is just the Ocean's 11 guy. When I was watching this time through, it just was more like, because he just doesn't have that, like, I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is about him. If it's like this certain level of like faux gravitas he has, or like this like like used car salesman thing he has. That's like, but it's like high end, like he's selling you like a Lamborghini. I don't know what it is.
So I used to think genuinely, especially when he was on ER and he wasn't like a bazillionaire married to the whatever head of the UN or whatever he's married to. But like when he was just a good looking dude on TV, one of the things that I genuinely made the argument, and I still think there's something to this. He's Rosemary Clooney's nephew?
Nephew,
like
yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's genuine old Hollywood
genetics.
Nepotism.
He's got nepotism and genetics too. Like you got that like.
But I think there is an air amongst people who come from that era of Hollywood,
Mhm.
where it's literally like a class structure. Like there are movie stars, and there are celebrities, and there are actors, and then there are the Hollywood people, right?
Right.
There are the and I think it's literally like you said, like a faux gravitas. I don't even know that I would describe it as faux. It's definitely manufactured,
Yeah,
but
like
it
put on.
works, and
Yeah,
we
it
buy it.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I buy it to a point. I do, like, again, it is really hard for me to accept him as being this particular character in some instances in this, because it just doesn't feel like he would allow things to, like, he seems much more in control of the situation than he actually is, which I guess is
Yes.
part of it, but it's not. I don't know. It's just something's off with it, is all I'm saying. Something's a little off with how he presents himself versus the actuality of this character. It's like he doesn't know this character is a scumbag. He hasn't accepted that this character is a scumbag, and on some level.
That's fair.
And if you're this guy, if you are this scumbag, you know you're a scumbag. Like he says at the end, he's like, I'm a bastard. I'm not a fucking
but
bastard.
I'm not a fucking bastard. It's
You
such
know,
a good
like,
line.
It is
Such a good line.
But like he knows what he is, but he doesn't act like that. I don't know.
So the thing that sort of stuck out to me this time, and I was like, well, that's not congruous. The class that he represents, and like you said, he's not a low rent criminal. Probably, you're like, wow, why would he be so hung up on Richie then? Like,
well,
what?
And with the crime they committed, why would they be robbing? Like you seem higher end than what you are. Like you actually did the deed. You did the robbing and the thing, you know, like.
Well, okay. So I put it together though this time, and I was a little tighter on the timeline. Richie has just broken Seth out of jail. Seth got caught.
Right.
And was in high security prison or whatever. Richie does some daring escape and gets him out. And then because of the nature of, like, it was so impossible what he did, and there's so many people around, they've literally been on the back foot the whole time. And because Richie cannot be contained, it keeps exploding at every moment for him. But like, I do think there's a part of Seth that is just beholden to Richie. It's like, I never would have gotten out of that hole.
Yeah.
And now my brother has me this fucking close to Mexico and done with all of that. Actually, I can just retire. Ugh. And so for that hope and for what he owes Richie for getting him out, he's almost willing to withstand anything. Like, he does clearly have lines, and Richie gets to them a few times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
he's
like,
not happy when it comes home and Richie's raped and murdered their hostage.
That is literally my next line here. Where the fuck is the hostage, Richie? Okay, two things about this. Rodriguez does a lot of like interesting camera things.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute. We're gonna forget this if I don't say it right now. I gotta bring him up because I love him so much. Although I read maybe he was anti-Semitic in the past. So
no.
Michael Parks. I want to acknowledge Michael Parks, who passed away several years ago, like I think 2017 or something like that. But he plays the sheriff in the opening scene of this movie. He's the Texas Ranger guy that comes
I recognized him.
So, okay, he plays that exact same character in the Kill Bill movie, the first one.
Oh, shit.
Yes,
that's
and
why
his
I
son
him.
Plays his son in Kill Bill as well. He plays like another Texas Ranger who's like his deputy or something.
That seems so crazy.
It's so fantastic, and I think the main reason is because Michael Parks is such an amazing actor. So Michael Parks had a great run with Tarantino and Rodriguez. That he did several things with both of them. He's actually two characters in Kill Bill. He plays Sheriff McGraw or Ranger McGraw or whatever, and then he also plays Esteban in Kill Bill Part 2. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who raised Bill. It's right towards the very end of the movie. So it was supposed to be, that character was supposed to be played by Khan. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about, though.
Yeah. Wrath of Khan.
Yes, rich Corinthian leather. Hang on, I gotta look it up now.
Leather. Oh God, what's his name? Why can't I say Ricardo Montalban?
Yes. Okay, so it was supposed to be Ricardo Montalban, and Ricardo was late getting to set, and anyway, they were setting up for the first shot or something in that scene, and Michael Parks was around, and he told Quentin, he was like, oh, let me read it for her while she's, you're shooting her. And he did. And Quentin literally called Ricardo Montalban and was like,
no need.
We'll send you a check, but don't actually take the plane. You just stay. And so he got Michael Parks to do both parts. But Michael Parks also, though, did a run for Kevin Smith. He was in, Kevin Smith wrote the movie Red State for Michael Parks. Michael Parks plays like a David Koresh figure or something, like a crazy preacher. He also wrote the movie Tusk effectively for Michael Parks. Michael Parks plays the bad guy in Tusk too. He is brilliant in those two movies. And in Red State, you get to hear him sing too. He's got a beautiful singing voice.
Dulcet
he has
tones.
Albums from like the 70s, the 60s and the 70s. He made like 3 or 4 albums. Yeah. So he got blacklisted because he was difficult on a TV show that he was on in the set. He had a TV show that was like based around him. He drove a Harley and went town to town, like Kung Fu or something. I mean, it was sort of like, it was like Kane traveling the world or whatever.
Roaming the earth.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, it sounds like that Lorenzo Lamas TV show that they made in the 90s where he was, he was on a Harley and went town to town, didn't he, as a vigilante?
Yes. What
anyway,
was that? Oh my God.
I don't remember.
God, Joel.
So the Michael Parks series, though, was called Bronson, I think was the name of it. And it was a big deal, but it only lasted like 1 season. And the reason why it fell apart was because he was
a dick?
quote unquote, he was quote unquote difficult to work with. So his version of it is that the studio wanted to make the show more violent and more adult, and he wanted to keep it a family, for everybody kind of thing. And who knows? Like I say, there's some interviews out there where people that worked with him said that he had some anti-Semitic views, and who knows about that. But regardless, he's got an interesting body of work, and he is a very, very cool and I think integral part of the opening of this movie, because the not faux gravitas that he brings to that role,
right? Absolutely,
it centers it so much so that when the shit goes haywire, you just buy in. You're like, this is a crazy fucking criminal world that we're in,
Yeah, and it sets you up for what you think that movie's gonna be. You think it's gonna be a natural born killers kind of movie. Like, that's what you think this is gonna be. If you walked
100%.
into it and you didn't know anything about it, that is 100% you would think, I'm about to go on a killing spree, because that was really common in 90s movies too. Like, we were very violent.
Well, again, like, I think it's the year after this, but Natural Born Killers is like right there in this run as well.
Absolutely.
And that movie raised such a stink with the mainstream media. They were like, what are we doing?
When the 2 Columbine shooters are like calling what they did in BK, yeah, of course.
I mean, Stephen King like had one guy own a copy of Rage, and he was like, off the shelves.
Yeah. That's so hard to get your fucking hands on too. I've never read it, and I want to read it because I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and so expensive.
So, okay, I do like the scenes though where Richie pushes Seth too far and Clooney react. Right here, he's like, where's the fuck the hostage, Richie? Okay, that's what I was about to say. Rodriguez does a lot of really interesting camera things here, but this is brilliant the way that we see the bedroom.
I love it, because it's
the
like
flashes.
Clooney doesn't want to look at what's really happened. Seth cannot look at what Richie has truly done in one glance. Like, he can't process it.
He can't even process it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see that on Clooney's face when we're getting the steady shot.
And honestly, I think that's
giving us the actual flashes.
Why he does work in this role, despite my kind of like weirdness about it, is because it is kind of like he's sort of like la 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 la, I don't have to listen to what's really happening around me, and I can pretend that I'm in control of everything. So if you can kind of accept that as being part of his character, even though he doesn't show that kind of vulnerability except in like this fucking moment.
Yeah. Well, okay, there's one other moment. He asks him in this section, he says, is it because of me? Is this who you think I am? And I did wonder there, and I'd never thought about this previously in the many, many times that I've seen this movie. I wonder what the age gap is, right? Like, how old was Richie when Seth went away? How long has he been in prison?
Yeah.
And did Seth ever take Richie to a place where he saw something,
that
right?
He should, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that there are, like I said, and it's almost like the Harvey
find
Keitel
depth
and
if you
Juliet.
look for it. You could find some depth.
I think this is a perfect example of how actors can, in fact, elevate any fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
Like there are no bad roles. There are only bad actors. All right.
Weirdly, I enjoy Quentin Tarantino as an actor, generally speaking. It's very strange because I find him very off-putting as a human being.
I think he is maybe the greatest director as far as of knowing where he could fit in a movie.
Yeah.
Quentin's only got like two gears.
Yeah.
And they're basically the same. It's like this kind of creep or that kind of creep.
Or the guy in Pulp Fiction who's like a derp.
Well, but the guy but you say that, but the guy in Pulp Fiction uses the N-word like insanely.
Oh, that is true. That is
there in front of.
God, that's very true.
And also the way that he talks about his wife is sort of dismissive a couple of times. And I'm like,
no, I haven't watched that in a while. You're totally right. I was like, no.
Or there's he's the Australian like miner or whatever in Django, and it's the same. He's a creep in that one too, man. Anyway, I'm telling you, Quentin knows what he is, and the fact that he puts it on camera, I think, and in his own films, I think it's weird, but I do think it says something about the fact that he sees himself. He knows what he is.
That man is in defeat, and he knows it.
Oh man, I'd forgotten how much footwork there is in this thing.
I did too, and I was just just because it's been fresh on my mind lately, because I don't know why I was thinking about that recently. I must have seen an article or something about him and his foot stuff, but I was like, immediately when she poured that shot down her leg. Also, when she poured that shot down her leg,
listen,
isn't everyone? Ladies, are we all bi now? I'm pretty sure we are all bi. The 90s made us all bi. Ladies, it's what happened to us.
I'm going to go ahead and skip to it. 15-year-old Joel was just as excited about this bar layout and these dancers as young Scott is here in the bar.
Oh,
we cut at one point
Scott, he's so
to
cute.
Scott sitting there at the table, and he's got this grin on his face.
He's so happy.
Yeah. Listen. Well, okay, let's just talk about the titty twister for a second here.
Bar, it's like, to me, this is what the inside of the bar that's on the miniature village in Beetlejuice, this is what the inside of that bar is.
So, okay, it vaguely looks to me like the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot, honestly. Like if they let it go without cleaning for a few days, you know?
God, I have been so drunk at the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot. I worked, for those of you that do not know, I worked at Disney, I had some time at Disney, and also I like to go as an adult with no children because it's brilliant and wonderful. But yeah, I have been very drunk at this bar.
So when he first mentions the titty twister, no, you know what? Ashley, I haven't mentioned this story yet. I'm going to tell it here. I said 15-year-old Joel was very excited about this bar layout. Let me tell you about 15-year-old Joel going to see this movie. So I took my high school girlfriend to see this movie, unawares of what we were going to see. I knew precisely what we were signing up for. I told her we were going to see the Christian Slater movie Bed of Roses, which came out that same week or the week before, I believe.
Was Marissa Tomei in that?
Indeed, I think she was.
That's a lie, yes. Joel. That's not what you were taking her to.
That is not what I was taking her to. And the only reason I got away with it, honestly, the only reason why she didn't get up and walk out early was because it started like a normal Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez movie. She was like, oh, okay, crime movie. She was mad. I got some slugs on the shoulder, but like we were fine.
She's like, oh, it's
40
fine.
minutes in, when we go to the titty bar, she was a little less excited. Then she got quiet again for a while because I think she realized she was bi, as you said.
And, you know, we all it all hit us all, you know, like here we are.
Man, Salma Hayek puts that foot in your mouth. You just open your mouth, don't you?
You open your mouth, and I don't know, maybe a toe falls in. I don't know. I haven't been there.
Satanico Pandemonium is her name in this movie. I love that.
That is like a good drag queen name right there. I love it. I very much love it. Oh, this bar. The titty.
So the least.
Wait, can we talk about Cheech Marin?
Oh,
and the
yes,
door.
I've got the line. So I literally ran this by Kelly. I was like, how much of Cheech Marin's monologue can I use in the podcast? She was like, you do the last sentence and you only do the one line in accent. And I was like, all right, fair. If you can find cheaper pussy anywhere, fuck it.
Oh my God. I was crying laughing. I had forgotten. Number one, I don't know how I forgot Cheech plays 3 characters in this film.
He's in this movie. I did too. He's in this fucking movie 3 times.
I have seen this movie probably at least 10 times, I would think, and it's at this point in life. And I love Cheech. Actually, when Brett and I were watching The Voyage of the Demeter again, I was like, that guy looked like Cheech. Like there was a guy like fucking doing something on the boat or near the boat or around the boat. And I was like, that looks like Cheech. And then I immediately turned around and watched this. And I was like, Cheech. The fucking trifecta of Cheech Marin.
So look, man, I think Cheech Marin, first of all, I think he's a underappreciated human being. He's funny and he's warm and he seems to be like a good dude. Everybody that works with him loves him.
Yeah.
Which to me speaks very highly of you. If you can go through work days together and you say that's a good human being at the end of it, then it's probably a good human being. But also he's like fucking Hollywood royalty in so many ways, man. He's had like 4 different careers. You forget he was on TV with that Nash Bridges show for like a decade and a half, right? He made so much money on CBS.
Easy to fucking forget.
Yeah. But
because
of course also it's Cheech and Chong, right? He was this classic stoner comic. But you have to remember, like, this guy was a comedian in fucking actual titty clubs, going in between actual nude acts, guys, and still not getting thrown out of the bar. Like, that comedy is a talented comedian.
I do stand up, and I just want you to know that gig right there is the hardest gig in the world.
Nobody wants you there.
You are uninvited and unwanted, and you're getting paid to be there, and you don't want to eat shit. Like that's the worst. I can't imagine a worse. I've done some fucked up gigs. I did an improv show at a Make-A-Wish Foundation group's fucking holiday party. And I want to tell you that I think Cheech Marin doing fucking stand-up sets at his titty bars is harder than that.
So genuinely, this guy is a comic legend. If you've never listened to,
brilliant in this. You guys,
we've got some viewers and some listeners that are fairly young. If you have never heard any of Cheech and Chong's stuff, genuinely go to YouTube and look for Is Dave There?
Oh God.
I think Dave's it's one of the funniest. Dave's Not Here. That's the name of it.
Dave's Not Here, man.
It's one of the funniest comic bits I've ever seen, and it still holds up.
Funny.
Absolutely holds up today. So,
oh my God.
Anyway, go check that out. But he does the Forrest Gump list. We got black pussy, we got white pussy, we got yellow pussy, we got red pussy, we got green pussy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got some pussy that's gonna eat you later.
Ashley, I grew up conservative. This fucking monologue shocked the shit out of me.
Oh,
like,
I
genuinely.
Bet it did. Oh my God. Well, here's the thing too. It's like if you've ever,
he just keeps saying it.
He does. He is better than any busker I've ever seen on Bourbon Street. You know what I mean? Like this guy is like, come on in. Hey there, pretty lady, come on in. Get this pussy here. Got this pussy there. Come on, pussy. Meow. You know, like it is.
He literally at one point does just repeat pussy.
It's crazy. It is insane. But it really sets you up for the kind of fuckery that you're about to walk into this place. You know, it is a titty bar. It is.
Well, okay. I love though that Clooney in the RV is like, I don't think he actually says we're all going to be little Fonzies, but he's like, we're all going to be cool, right? Everybody going to be cool.
He's like, everyone's
going to be cool as cucumbers.
Be cool.
He knocks fucking Cheech out. He's not even in the
hand.
Bar yet.
Breaks his finger. Like first thing he does is like break his hand. I'm like, you calm down, sir. You're making more of an entrance than you'd like.
Okay, we haven't mentioned them yet. Los Lobos is the house band, in case you didn't notice. They're the band on stage.
God, you guys, that's so fantastic.
Again,
if you watch the band throughout this movie, you will get some really hilarious little like weird Easter eggy things. I don't know that would be Easter eggs, but they're just always doing something fucking crazy.
Yes. They're like, you know, it reminds me of like the cutaways from whatever the main action is that you see in a cartoon.
Yes.
Like literally it's like the little, and it's just a glimpse and then we're back to whatever's actually happening. Yeah, the band is awesome.
Yeah,
But
I love the
again,
band.
that's an example though of how this movie is over provisioned. Like it doesn't have to actually be Los Lobos on stage. They were kind of hot at the time. Like they were well known, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had some pop hits. Okay, man, not the only, because there's lots. The least believable moment in this movie, though. The least believable moment.
Oh, I'm excited to hear what is the least believable moment in this movie, Joel?
Salma Hayek is dancing, and they cut to Tarantino and Scott staring at her, drooling, right? And beside them is Juliette Lewis's character, who is very decidedly not looking at Salma Hayek on the stage. And I'm like, no, the fuck she's not. She's, as you said earlier, that was the moment when we all realized we were bisexual. Yes, Salma Hayek's on stage, and Juliette Lewis would have been looking too. She might have been, I could see like a little jealous girl thing or whatever. You could play that in the eyes.
Or being like, maybe she was embarrassed. She's young. Maybe she's embarrassed.
Okay,
maybe like the situation's embarrassing. And when you are one of the few females, there's not a lot of women in here that aren't strippers. She's pretty much it.
It's just her and the strippers.
You know, like the only reason they
her.
get into the bar, the only reason they can even order a drink is because her dad's got a CDL. Like, what the fuck?
I love Harvey Keitel too. He's like, no, this is all just a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
you say this is a bar for truckers. Well, I am a trucker.
I am a trucker after all. Yep. Yeah, no, she's having, like, these two kids are having a night. I mean, all three of the people in this family he kidnaps them and makes them take them over the border. They're just like along for the fucking craziest ride that they did not expect to have on this night, you know? So I could see her being like, you know, being uncomfortable, like, because you haven't been around just a bunch of men and titties, and that's not a good environment to be in. I could be really honest with you. Having been almost the only girl in a strip club before, sometimes that vibe is weird and off, and you know it.
That's very fair. But you actually just gave me, I just realized you said the true reason. She wasn't looking at Salma Hayek because she was looking at a different pair of titties. She had found a different set that she preferred.
I mean, there's titties everywhere. You pick your titty lot, you know?
I mean, man, see, for me personally, that's what she should have been selling at the front door. That would have been more appealing, I think, to the broader. Yeah, pussies that's aggressive.
I feel like you're gonna have to pay extra for the pussy, and the titties are just there for you. The titties are for everyone's consumption. Pussies you're gonna have to like.
Right about the time that this movie came out, maybe the next year, I don't know. Chris Rock taught me a very important lesson that I have always remembered. There's no sex in the champagne room.
There's no sex in the champagne room.
You want sex in the champagne room, but there's no sex in the champagne room.
Brett and I got a lap dance one time at a strip bar from this girl who talked about her grandmother being sick. We got invited out to the strip club with another like couple friend and this gal I worked with and her husband. And I didn't realize that they were like, I feel like that was an invitation to be swingers. And I didn't know it.
You missed it.
I missed there was no signal. And this girl was, although we worked in a lingerie shop, she was very straight laced. She was very like uptight and like, oh, it was really weird. But then we got a lap dance and this girl just was like, I was like, I'm looking at the fish tank. What's happening? This is the weirdest lap dance ever. Sorry about your grandma.
Actually, you and I have the opposite problem because when I was in between marriages, when I had gotten divorced and not yet met and married Kelly, I had 3 different situations where I was convinced I was imminently about to be invited into a swinging situation and was a little nervous about whether or not what was going to happen. And in fact, I had just misread the situation. In fact, yeah. I was looking for one all over, apparently. I just never found the right room.
Just
I don't know.
Like, it's awkward on all sides, I bet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, genuinely, have you ever seen a movie with a harder left turn?
No, this is crazy. This is crazy. You go from thinking this is going to be a basic 90s, like not art film, but like these guys are known
Sure.
for doing these like really kind of cutting edge movies. So you're expecting this. It turns into a splatter gore fest. Like gooey, slimy, like gremlin kind of like oozy, crappy blood and stuff. Like it is so, and the special effects are so fun in this. They're very, very fun. They're very campy at times, but it's I looked it up. It was K&B that did it, which is Greg Nicotero's group.
Okay, I wonder, and I did not look that up. Thank you for doing so. I know you're more of the gore fan than the two of us, so you know a lot more about these effects. But
and also, I knew Nicotero was involved in this, and I was like, I love his work. I'm such a fan of his, and like big time, I love him.
So we get Sex Machine here in the second half of this movie.
Sorry, I scream.
No, not at all. He's played by Tom Savini, who is
Mwah.
a FX guru, right? Like he's a gore guy. So I sort of wondered if Savini was working on the film and they were just like, "Oh, you be Sex Machine too."
No, I think he was just an actor in this, and like, well, he does stunt work.
He's
too,
good
so
in
like,
it. He's really quite good in it.
Savini is Tom Savini. I love him. Like, there's so many people in this movie that are kind of niche for me that I absolutely adore. Tom Savini is one. Danny Trejo, like young hot Danny Trejo.
Yes.
Like, I adore him. Give me
He's
more
the
of
only
him.
one. To me, he's the only one that still looks sexy once he vamps out.
Yeah. Yes. Trejo.
I'm still like, yeah, Danny, you can still get it. Probably.
John
actually.
fucking Saxon is in this movie. John Saxon, who is like, he plays an FBI agent in the interview scene, the very, very beginning. John Saxon was the father, Nancy's dad, in Nightmare on Elm Street, which is what like I really, really know him for. But like he's like an old school horror like fucking hero, you know?
Okay,
he was in
now
Black
that you mentioned the
Christmas,
TV.
too.
There's another one though. Who is it? We see a reporter. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's Kelly Preston. It's Kelly Preston.
John Travolta's wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So like even your little cameo roles for this crazy ass film are, star-studded out.
Oh, okay. We didn't mention him earlier, but in the scene in the gas station at the beginning with Michael Parks, the guy at the counter is John Hawkes, who's in everything. He's been in Lincoln and he was in Deadwood. He's got a great role in Deadwood.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's got an awesome career. He's a really kind of quirky looking dude. That scene between the two of them is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. Like you
but
don't
that's
know.
What makes
you have
the
no
left turn
fucking
so.
Yeah, you have no fucking clue that like those guys are in that store. Yes. Like he goes to piss and you're like all of a sudden like because he's the guy behind the counter is playing everything so cool and like he really is doing what he's supposed to do, which is what's so fucked up about it.
I didn't give him any fucking signal.
I didn't, and he doesn't. I don't see any. Oh, it's awful.
But see, all of that being played so well, and them taking like such an effort in making that movie work. I like on the one hand, I will say it's always made me angry that they never made a Gecko Brothers movie, right? Like just give us a movie about Seth and Richie and what they're doing, right?
Well,
but also
that's very Tarantino to do, like introduce some characters in a movie and then go back and like give you more of it later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that was the rumor for Mr. Pink from Reservoir Dogs and John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction are brothers. And they were always supposed to have a movie that took place, elsewhere or whatever. But anyway, this turn where, so first of all, early in the movie, we see Richie get his hand shot in the scene in the gas station. And there's the great moment when they're driving away where the camera goes through shoots through his hand, which is very, very cool. But here that comes back because he gets stabbed in that same wound. First of all, again, like they come to the bar and stir shit immediately and it comes back to bite them.
Oh, of
literally.
course. Because like they like are going to come into this place. You don't know anybody. You also should be playing it cool. You just got across the border, assholes. And you are not that far from the border from what it sounds like the directions that they gave her to get to the titty bar.
Yeah. That's the other thing that I wonder. Does the FBI really never go to Mexico? Like, is that, could I just go to the first trucker bar
Yeah. Like the first titty bar I could get to across the border, and I will find my guys. Real quick, because I just accidentally clicked on something. Actually, so I told you K and B did the effects.
Yes.
And the N in K and B is Nicotero, who's my guy, but Robert Kurtzman is the K in that. And he actually is the one who wrote the initial like film treatment. In like 88, it says. And he was really wanting to do it for the company to produce all of these prosthetics and to show off their fucking makeup work, and that's literally
a great idea.
Yeah.
Huh.
So they hired Tarantino in 90 to write the script, and he wrote the screenplay for $1,500. Wow. And an agreement that K&B would do the makeup for Reservoir Dogs.
Man, could you imagine buying a Quentin Tarantino script for $1,500? I mean, I know it's $1,500 in 92 or whatever.
And a trade. Like, but this is a 1990s. So this is before anyone knew who the fuck Tarantino was. He hadn't even done Reservoir Dogs yet.
Well, so you have to remember, like, he sold the first thing that really got interest was his script for True Romance, and he sold that instead of making it himself, which was his plan. But he sold that so that he would have enough money to basically self-finance Reservoir Dogs.
90s movie too, True Romance.
True Romance is so well. And honestly, I think that movie is better served by not being a Quentin Tarantino directed film.
I do too,
because Quentin Tarantino at the time would not have had the capability to do all the action shots that we get in that film, not appropriately anyway. Like Reservoir Dogs was training wheels for him to get his.
He might not have been able to land the actors either that they got for that.
That is very.
At that time.
It was the script for True Romance that brought everybody calling, and like Harvey Keitel signing on for Reservoir Dogs is what got him any funding at all. So like, it was like one thing leads to the other. But you do see though, the actors like Keitel, and it's not just him. There's a lot of people that have worked with Tarantino over and over again. The same thing, people that work with, we've talked about Mike Flanagan a lot here. He gets a cast and they tend to come work for you again. But when you get someone who, first and foremost, when you get someone who can give you words that you can do something with, like Harvey Keitel. And we've sort of joked about how this is kind of a bare bones movie in many ways, and it shouldn't be as good as it is. But I think that's what Harvey saw in it. I think that's why he signed up. He signed up because Quentin asked him to. They had just done Reservoir Dogs together, but it was like, I can eat on this actually. Like I can chew in this. And he's got some great moments in this movie.
He does. This movie, I mean, who wouldn't want to be in this movie? It's a ridiculously good time. Like I can't even imagine being involved in the filming process of something like this. Like once we take the turn that we're in a vampire movie, the movie is a completely different film. And you go from that ultra realistic violence that we see in the first, 30 minutes, 40 minutes into this like heightened, crazy, insane, fucking
over the top
comic book, horror movie, over the top, sci-fi, gore and violence. And it is a wild, wild ride. I just think it would have been so much fun to be a part of something like this.
I agree. I love too that like they show you just how far they're going to in that first moment. Because Salma doesn't get fangs. She doesn't even get like Buffy scary face. She doesn't even go Nosferatu. She goes like Amazon goddess Snakehead. Yeah, man. Like they go right out. They're like, oh, we're going to a different place. And then the whole fucking bar is vampires. And it's like pandemonium in 5 seconds. It's so good.
It makes me wonder, like, is this their nightly thing that they do? Do they do this every night at this bar? Or do they do this like once every like couple of months, or it's a quarterly kind of kill?
I don't think they do this at all. In fact, okay, two things that I think this all goes awry instead of going to anyone's plan.
Okay.
If you think about it, first of all, if they literally cleared the bar out every night, that's going to fuck your clientele up in a series. Like you're not going to get a steady flow. Eventually word's going to get out.
You're not going to have
villages are missing suddenly. Yeah. Right. But secondly though, if you look at like the back of the house, they've got these orderly stacks of gear that it turns out that they've been collecting for years. Right.
Right.
Well, again, that's not what happens is I think they take a few. They pull a few off to the side and the bar just continues to function. It's the reason why they only allow truckers and bikers.
Right.
Because they've got to be transient.
Well, it's the same reason why truckers, like, you want to be a serial killer? Why don't you be a trucker? Because that's a great way to be a good, creepy, sneaky ass serial killer. So maybe they're, like, maybe we got some eating of the evildoer over here too.
I mean, maybe some of that too. Man, okay. I just said here, like, I think Seth is a fantastic creation. And you're right in that it's basically the same character that he's playing in Ocean's 11. But it is a shame we didn't see this guy again in some fashion. Like, genuinely.
Especially,
he's interesting.
Yeah, well, and he just chews up Tarantino's writing too. So, like, he would have been really, really fantastic in another Tarantino flick. Like, I would have enjoyed that ride, I'm sure.
So I'd never noticed this before.
It was 1996. We all wanted to look at George Clooney. Please and thank you.
I'd never noticed this before this viewing, but he's got a sort of a reprise that he comes to. He's got it's not a phrase, but it's like a phrase type. Early in the movie, when they first head out to the RV, he says, "Ramblers, let's get rambling." Mm-hmm. Then when they get to the bar, he says, "Heavy drinkers, let's drink heavy." Then towards the end, they're coming out of the room for the final stand, and he says, "Vampire killers, let's kill some vampires." I think it's a cute little refrain, and it's the kind of thing, like, especially if you're a musical fan, you're always looking for a reprise. I like it when they bring that shit back. Yeah.
I love, so that final battle scene is so fun and so excellent. My dream weapon in that would be the holy water gun and the condoms filled with holy water. I would fuck people up with that.
I had never noticed in a previous viewing that they were condoms either. I thought they were water balloons. It's condoms, obviously, Joel. It's like, what are you? I mean, honestly, when Joel, I was 15, I've probably never seen one. Yeah.
As the child-free host here, I can assure you those are condoms.
Ashley, Kelly used to make fun of me. And the way that we would say this in public so that we wouldn't get in trouble is that Joel doesn't believe in sunscreen or raincoats. And I don't. That's true.
Oh, no.
That's true in my life. I don't like raincoats, and I don't like sunscreen, and I don't really like umbrellas either. And I have not been great about using condoms in my life either, if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah.
I walk in the rain, but
Indeed.
Condoms are condoms, friend.
Okay. There's a great line here before they really get started, honestly, fighting, or after the initial batch, but not towards the end, where Clooney asks them, "So are you a faithless preacher, or are you a mean motherfucking servant of God?" And Harvey Keitel goes, "I'm a mean servant of God." I love it. I love that he goes,
I do too. And I kind of wish it maybe, like, I know that one of your favorite films is The Big Lebowski. And yes. I also know that one of the worst TV edited films you can watch is The Big Lebowski. Like, that's what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. You know, like, I'd almost rather you hum through your profanity than give me a terrible, terrible dub over.
So my favorite one of those is Snakes on a Plane, where Sam Jackson says, "I'm tired of all these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane," except in the TV edit, he says, "I'm tired of all these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane." That is so good. Terrible ADR.
That's what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps is my all-time favorite. Nothing has ever made me laugh harder.
What happens, Larry?
Do you see what you're killing your father, Larry? Oh
man.
Okay. Can we talk about Fred Williamson?
He was my next note. Okay, so we mentioned Tom Savini, but in case you don't know, Fred Williamson also sort of Hollywood royalty. He is a blaxploitation guy. He's in a ton of blaxploitation films.
He was not just as an actor.
He was a producer and a director too on a lot of films too. So, like, if you like the Shafts and not Foxy Brown. Yes, Foxy Brown, those films or whatever. Like, yes, Fred Williamson's probably in some of those, and he definitely directed some of those.
Yeah, Black Caesar, the Hell Up in Harlem. Hammer.
He's a great character here, though, too. And I love his...
Oh, so fun. Like, he's such a badass, too. I love that he's just a
He's
badass.
got that insane monologue, though, where he's talking about Vietnam.
Yeah.
It reminds me of... Because it comes out of nowhere, right?
Yes.
Like, and he's just like... and we were killing Charlie
Yep.
one by one, you know,
Yep.
whatever. But it reminds me of, there's the insane, and I don't know if there, maybe there's a better inspiration for this that I don't know, just because I'm not the film geek that Quentin is. But there's that monologue in Gremlins. Like halfway through Gremlins, there's the scene where Phoebe Cates
Starts
talking
about
about her
getting
father.
stuck in the fucking chimney.
Yes. And it's like, I mean, even if you read the script, you're like, why the fuck is this in here? There's no good reason for it to be in there. And it's like incredibly graphic and like takes too long.
It breaks up the action. Like the action's going so well. It's such but it's so...
What are you doing?
It's such a great monologue, though. It's so, she fucking is so serious about it. And it's about her dad getting stuck in the chimney and dying. That's just crazy.
And like here, the only reason they give that monologue to Fred basically is so that Sex Machine can sneak up on him and bite him.
Right.
But
she killed some time.
Fred Williamson is eating it though. He's like, and there I was in the jungle, crawling on my belly. You know, like he's like doing the thing like full out.
It reminds me, like that monologue reminds me, just kind of the way it's written and such, reminds me a little bit of I mean, it is the best delivered monologue in the history of film, I think, probably, in Jaws, when Quint's talking about the USS Indianapolis. You know, like it is like, I feel like this had to have been inspired by that because that is
actually, I'm such an idiot. I was like, I wonder what else Quentin could have been inspired by. Fucking yes, it's the Indianapolis speech. That's what it is.
It's just one of my, like, Jaws is in my top 3 favorite movies, period. It's just it's one of the best films of all time. And that scene is just, is transfixing. You cannot stop listening. You cannot look away. Like, you feel like the other 2 characters in the scene experiencing it, you know, like it's so well done. So well done.
So I love this often happens in vampire movies where you get the double cross death. Somebody who is turned but won't tell it.
Yes.
Right? Happens in zombie movies a lot of times too.
Oh yeah, I didn't get that, I swear.
Yeah, the double cross death is always the one that really is going to fuck shit up and like end up causing the final
mayhem
result.
Yep, absolutely.
So Fred Williamson gets bit by Sex Machine. Sex Machine beats the shit out of everyone here. Bites the preacher too, which we're like, oh no, everything's gone to hell. And then Fred turns instantly, which hasn't been happening so far, but he turns super fast and then throws Sex Machine through the front door. Seems to me like he almost did it on purpose, honestly. Like we don't see him vamping until he turns back around.
Yeah.
But we hear Sex Machine inside of his head that the vampires are talking to, saying,
and we
kill
know
them
the
all.
bats are out there. Christ, it's awful.
Yeah.
Like when you hear them flapping around, it's so gross. What's like Voyage of the Demeter, we were talking about the flapping of the wings that you kind of hear, and the like, especially at the part where the guy's in the rowboat trying to get away, and you hear that.
Yeah, and it's like a glimpse as he goes by.
And Juliette Lewis even says to her dad, she's like, I can't handle much more of that sound. Like, that is too much for me.
Well, they don't have to handle it anymore because they are inside now.
Here comes the evil.
Okay, so all right. During this big battle, they kind of make their last stand. Sex Machine has this transformation here. They cut off his head.
Oh, it turns into like this rat thing. Like, you're just showing off. You're showing off your special effects at this point.
You telling me that the movie was literally written on spec as basically a trailer for these guys? That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The transformation doesn't make any sense, but we do get, first of all, a really disgusting rat creature, but also you get a good hero moment from Juliette there, right? Where she's able to shoot the crossbow from across the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Great crossbow, by the way.
Yes. I love that they give both Sex Machine, what's his name?
Just like saying
I keep calling
Sex Machine. Like, that's like,
sorry, what's his name? Tom.
That's a character's name. Like, that is the character's name, and that's fucking absurd.
He introduces himself to a child as that. Like, hello, I'm Sex Machine.
I'm Sex Machine.
But Tom Savini and Fred both get to come back as menaces.
Yes.
Even once they're turned. I like that. They both have a little moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and then we get Cheech Marin in his third performance of the film, saving the day as Carlos. I was so surprised when he. And
When
again,
it's
it's
the
like, how did you
third
forget he's
Cheech.
there? Yeah,
I guess I forget every time. I don't know that I'll ever forget again now that it's on. Now that we recorded it and put it out into the universe.
We've been talking about it.
I don't think I'll ever forget it again. But yeah, he shows up to pick up. Hi, I'm looking for my friend. I'm looking for my friend Seth.
I love that, like, once he gets out, Clooney just fucking decks him almost immediately. He's like, why, of all the godforsaken shitholes in Mexico, did you pick this one?
Mexico's
and Cheech
a big country.
One place is just as good as another. Cheech hasn't even been to this bar yet.
And we all learn a lesson here. Like, don't set up a meet-up with a criminal intent meet-up at a place you've never been. That's amateur hour.
I love him though. He goes, "What happened? Were they psychos or something?"
They were fucking vampires.
They were fucking vampires. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are.
Yeah. Oh God, this was so much fun to watch. I love this movie.
Okay, and you already said that probably the best line of the whole movie. Kate is like, he hands her a stack of money.
Yeah.
And he's like, best of luck, kid. I'm headed to El Rey. Which, by the way, like, in retrospect, what the fuck was his plan for her? How's she going to get back across the... I mean, I don't know. Maybe she can.
She's covered in blood.
Assume she's got to change... Well, but she probably has a change of clothes, right?
Oh, yeah, it's her RV, duh.
Yeah. But still...
Let's accept the reality of the situation, which is that they've been living in the RV, duh.
This is like at most she's 17. Maybe you could argue she's 17.
How on Earth... Like, you got to go home and explain to everyone what happened to your dad and brother.
Yeah, dad and brother just decided to stay gone. Don't even worry about it.
Dad and brother were killed by vampires in a strip club in Tijuana.
But and first of all, she does this same thing a few times with Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, which we mentioned earlier. But she pokes that hip out and turns her head and she goes, Seth,
you want some company?
And I'm like, genuinely, a lesser man would have said, yeah, get in the car.
Yeah, why not?
Seth goes, go home, Kate. I may be a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard. And I mean, what a perfect encapsulation of their moment. So often in 90s movies, they even joke about it in Speed, right? Like relationships that are started under duress or whatever.
Yeah. Never work out.
But like, that's the thing that you would have expected, honestly.
Right, absolutely.
And he's just reminding everybody, he's like, I'm a murderer and a thief and a convicted felon.
I'm not a creep.
My brother was the creep.
I'm
you
not
missed
a creep.
the option.
Yeah, absolutely.
The creep's dead. Okay. I love this whole movie. I super enjoyed revisiting it, Ashley, but I just want to say again, sort of like we didn't care for the prologue in Last Voyage of the Demeter. Here we don't get a prologue, and I'm just like, why don't you make the fucking movie about the giant Aztec temple, or I guess maybe Incan temple in Central America, right? But still, the idea that you've had hundreds, maybe thousands of years of vampiric
sacrifices,
freaking feasts here in this building,
like played off as like human sacrifices to appease the gods. Oh my god! And all of the trucks, like all of the like carnage of all the big rigs that are all down and around. It's so pull-out shot is so fantastic. I love it. Like it gives it another little extra layer that's super fun.
Here's something else I love too. It's just a matte shot. That's a matte painting.
Yeah,
right?
It looks
That's
great.
That's a matte painting, and they composite the RV driving away in the background. Yeah, it does. It looks fantastic, honestly. And like, that's a good example of like, I mean, I love the volume that they shoot the Star Wars stuff on now and most of the Marvel movies or whatever. I think that's great technology. But like, folks,
simplicity.
Artistry is a fantastic thing, and you got painters that can do some amazing work.
Well, and to me, I mean, nothing is better than an actual live effect that you can make happen on screen, and I think that's something this movie does in spades, for real. Like, I mean, and having the understanding that this was basically like a promo film for these guys, their special effects company, that is hilarious, and that we just realized it in the midst of this podcast is even more hilarious.
I mean, genuinely, this is probably the goopiest thing that we've watched. We've joked about having some goopy vampires in Interview before, but this is almost definitely the goriest thing that we've watched.
Yeah, I'll say I think that Usher may give it a little bit of a run for its money a couple of times, but yeah, no, this is really, and the variety of gore that you get in this is spectacular, because you get like more realistic bites and kind of realistic wounds. Everything at the beginning is very hyper realistic, like with like the gunshot in the hand and all of that, even the early violence that happens in the bar is very like realistic violence, but then once it gets to the vampire of it all, like the slimy gore and the melted faces and the exploding everything's, it's just It's a good time.
We mentioned Los Lobos earlier, and we said watch them in the little shots that you get of the band. The
Guitar Man?
We didn't mention the fact that, yes, so there are two people playing guitars in Los Lobos, and both of them are holding bloated human bodies torn apart as their guitars.
Like a leg is stuck in the asshole of the torso. Yeah. That's the fucking, like...
It's the neck of the guitar. Okay, but here's what kills me, Ashley, is that they're playing those bloated human torn apart bodies 30 seconds after the bar goes vampiric. Right! And I'm like, when did you take that dude apart and string him? When did you tune him? Yeah, exactly.
Did you have him backstage for this eventuality? You gotta switch out for the actual show.
They also do, though. I love when the guys are all lined up and they're like, now let's kill that fucking band. And they're like, adios and good night. And they just like blink away. Yeah. I love the idea that the band is like, fuck off. Because they've got another gig to get to, one imagines. This isn't the only vampiric truck stop that they need to
they're important people. They need to get their rest before they have to do their next show.
The Queen of the Damned novel told me, Ashley, that vampires have bars all over the country. So
we know that, of course. All I want to do is go to them and meet a sexy vampire that doesn't look like any of the vampires in this movie.
Listen. I would let Salma Hayek put her toe in my mouth.
I'd let Salma Hayek do that, but that snake-faced bitch can fuck off.
I don't want Queen Cobra. Thank you very much, actually. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Man, I love this movie. I
did too. I laughed. I giggled so hard through most of it. The beginning of it, I forget how horrifying the beginning of it is. Like, the beginning of it is really like, ugh. Like,
it just
like,
nails you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
and especially once you realize exactly how psychopathic Richie is.
Yeah.
The movie's got a tension to it that is, I mean, it's great. You're like, oh God, this is just.
And because you don't think it's going to be this.
Yeah, I do want, like, I knew it was going to be a horror movie because, like I said, I was reading Fangoria or whatever.
Right.
And I knew what they were going into. But I do wonder how many people were watching this thing and were surprised when they took a left turn and all of a sudden Clooney was fighting vampires.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that it was pretty jarring for a lot of folks.
Yeah. I do remember my girlfriend was surprised.
I think she was surprised by a lot of things that night, Joel, probably.
When does Christian Slater show up in this thing? I don't know. He was in the trailer a lot.
He was. Bed of Roses. That's a Bon Jovi song, right? Where's the soundtrack?
Bon Jovi soundtrack.
The soundtrack is not what I expected of this film.
Man, 94 was a good year for movies. I don't know what to tell you, folks. This is 94, 96. 96 was also a good year for movies.
Yeah, I was either finishing up my junior year of high school or starting my senior year.
I had just gotten my driver's license, and I went to so many movies that year. It was absolutely. I could go to Monroe, which had a much better movie theater.
Yes,
Ashley. Yes. So yes.
Oh yeah. God, yeah, Fun Row. Well, my favorite thing to do when I was in college was and our buddy Alan and I did this a bunch of times. We'd go to the movie theater in Monroe at the mall, and there was a daiquiri shop in there. So you could get your daiquiri and hide it in your purse and then go to a movie. And that's how he and I watched Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Nice.
was like 32-ounce daiquiri into that movie. By the end of it, we were like, Jesus is a Jedi.
Tax routes are the most important thing that we can discuss, honestly, right now. That's all that matters. All right, folks, thank you for suggesting this one. Genuinely.
Really?
Ashley and I had a real good time visiting this again, so thank you. Next week, we're going to get back to our book club episodes. We're going to be talking about Blood and Gold. Wrapping it up, we'll discuss Marius and Bianca and Marius and Akasha as we finish off Blood and Gold. Because, Ashley, we got a Mayfair series staring us down the eyes here.
She coming up quick. We thought we didn't think it would be this fast, but that January announcement, it's coming quick upon us.
So here's the thing that this makes me most excited about. We think probably that Interview with a Vampire Season 3 is going to get pushed off to 2026.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're willing to run Mayfair starting January 5th makes me think maybe this will be the slot for Interview a year from now. So
that would be amazing.
I don't think we're going to have to wait. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have to wait into the summer. I think we'll get it early. And they'll, again, because I think they're going to want at least 2 Immortal Universe shows a year. And so you'll need... whatever.
Well, they have to keep their momentum going.
Yes.
we feel that as content producers, we want to keep our momentum going. I know they must be feeling that too.
And if you got Mayfair now, so they can go back into production for a season 3 if they get renewed, like right away, basically. Then you could do Talamasca late 2025 and then Interview early for Mayfair late 26 and then Talamasca early. And then
Joel, they just should hire you. Yeah. You've got it all planned out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I ain't hard to find. You got an email address, folks. Anyway, all right. Until next time, though, go and read some more of Blood and Gold and get ready for those episodes, and also catch Ashley and Brat as they continue to cover Fall of the House of Usher for Flan again.
Watch horrible, sexy people die in terrible ways. We love it.
They are some of the most beautiful, terrible people I know on TV. We're having so much fun
really unpacking that. It's been a good time.
The whole cast there would be very happy at the White Lotus checking in. I think.
Oh my God. I want a Flanagan cast in a White Lotus type situation.
He and what's the guy's name? Mike Shore? Is that the guy who does White Lotus?
No, that's The Good Place.
Oh, that's the Good Place guy.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy who does the White Lotus?
Mike
He's
something.
also
it's Mike something for sure.
Anyway, they should just swap. Mike should make a horror season. Trade cast.
Trade cast and do that up. That's awesome.
All right, folks, until we see you again, we've been your hosts. I am Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven.
Thanks for listening to the Articulate Coven. If you enjoyed the show, check out our groups on Facebook and Discord. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Or find us at articulatecoven.com and wherever you listen to podcasts.